I wonder if in the video y'all can hear the rain. How cool is it that we're having an episode in the car? Huh? That's fun. Really, it's a vibe. And I love a good rainy day. Now, when I get out of the car, if it's storming, I'm kind of out of luck because I don't think I have an umbrella in here. But, I don't know. I felt like this was it. I wanted to do this today. And, it was a little bit of a moment getting in here. I set up my phone over here to the left. If you're watching, well, really, if you're listening, that's what's going on. I set up my phone so I can get some short film kind of videos for Instagram, and then setting up my camera really wasn't that hard because I've got a couple Jobies, but I have one tripod that's a little more durable and it holds my camera really well. So I'm glad that worked out. And then I feel like the trickiest setup in the car was getting the microphone situated because I don't have a place to mount on the end of the mic stand. So it's literally just standing up vertically straight in between my console and my seat cushion. So we'll see how that works, but it fit pretty snug and it looks like it's staying, so we're gonna go as long as we can and hopefully that's a good setup. But coming into my car, so I've had to go back into my house and come back into my car a few times just to grab a couple things, and excuse me, and the fun thing is, like, I'll come in here and, like, after you've gone out and then come back in, it looks like a studio in here. Like, I've got a microphone, a camera, and my phone is set up. I've got 2 tripods set up. It's just like a whole setup in here. And so that's really fun. So, all right. I'm inspired. Well, first of all, I'm on spring break. Yay. Who else is on spring break? That's fun. For some. It's fun for some. If you're in school and you actually get to have a break, I'm very happy for you. For some of us, this is a very nice, like, okay, catch up, but still work. And then some people don't even have spring break. But I'm in the second group. I am glad I don't have to go on campus this week. It is nice to just be able to be so free with my location, but I still have 2 projects to have completed by Monday. I have 2 speeches to have written by Monday. I have a pre-class chapter reading quiz due by Monday. I have QuickBooks assignments due on Sunday, and it's Tuesday. And they want us to have all that stuff done by the days we come back. So essentially, they want us to do work over break. But honestly, we just finished exams. And I'm one who's really passionate about getting to the next phase of my educational career. And so I'm looking forward to the work in an interesting way because I'm also inspired. I'm not just passionate because it's like by myself, or I don't just have my own passion to look to. I also watch YouTubers and people who are like in law school, for example, on YouTube. I'll go and I'll watch them, or recently I have, and they're like studying for their finals, and it's like it's so much work, but it's so worth it. It's like we're getting to the place that we want to be post education. And for me, my educational journey is a huge component to and a building onto of my post educational journey and like of my career. And so I look forward to the learning. It's hard sometimes, it's not so easy. You can't always go off your own motivation. At the end of the day, what's going to get you through is your discipline, your self-control, your intentionality, your commitment to yourself and to your work. But I'm excited and looking forward to the work I'll do this week. Not because I won't rest. Rest is good. I just had a conversation with a friend over coffee earlier about that. but I am looking forward to it because I just got done with midterms. And when you're studying for any course of exams, you have to go pretty hard at it. You've got several classes typically that you are going to perform an examination over that is essentially a collective reflection of the information that you've attained and gathered over the last, 3, 4, maybe 5 weeks? And it can be rigorous, but I always find test times to be my favorite times in my education. One, because it shows me what I actually took away from the course. Two, because I don't have to study it, or I don't have to, sorry, I definitely have to study. I don't have to learn anything else that week. Typically, professors, they won't give you a whole bunch of information the week of testing because you're doing reviewing and they're wanting you to prepare for the test. So there aren't a lot of extra assignments, and I actually personally enjoy that. And then the third pro that I see to test taking is that in class, when you are going to take your test, everything's silent. It's so nice. And I am an introvert at heart, and I love being home. I love resting. I mean, I love being in my restful spaces, and typically my spaces of rest are peaceful, and something that I find peaceful is quiet, especially amidst very busy times, which education proves to be when you're in school, when you're walking around a campus, when you're studying in the library, when you are balancing your personal life with your school life, and you're going through a semester. It can be very intense and demanding. And so peace pockets are wonderful gifts. And I find test times to actually be one of those. It's interesting because it can be stressful studying for it and getting up to that point and pouring yourself out to make sure you're understanding the material over time and it's sticking so you're prepared for test day. And sometimes you can go into test day. I've definitely gone into test day and been like, I have no idea how I did, or I really don't think I did great. But the actual moment of the test, I allow myself to enjoy the peace and quiet and to just take that as the win and the peace, because it's part of the journey, and if you're gonna have to go through it anyway, may as well take the good that you can from it. So there's a little insight to how my mind works on testing. So today I just knew we needed to do an episode because I'm on break, I have the time, it's about that time, we're about 2 weeks since the last episode, it's time. And I think I came in with an idea of what I wanted to talk about. And it's a little far-fetched from the educational journey that I just, maybe I should save that one. I really think I'm gonna wait, y'all. I'm gonna wait on that topic because I think I'm gonna pray on it. I'm definitely going to pray on it more, and I'm gonna sit on it, and I think I'm gonna find some data, maybe some extra things to share that aren't just from my mind, because it's a really important topic, and y'all will come to know soon enough, because I'm intent to speak on it while I'm, in one of the episodes coming up. I do want to talk about it, but this one, we're on such a great roll of education and mindset in college, in school, that I'm just gonna keep going on this. So I think something that's really important as you're going through school is being mindful of how you respond and react to what it is that you're studying. Because you can go into a field, into a career, into an area of study. You can go into a class. You can go into, a particular professor's course. You can go into a lab. You can go into a clinical, an internship, a job, anything. You can go into something new that is meant to propel you towards either your career, like the rest, or propel you towards your career, or propel you in the direction of your education that you're needing to go to get to the next step, whatever that looks like. And you might get there and realize this was not for you, or this is not what you thought it would be. And I'll give you an example. So, going into college, I actually had considered 2 avenues that were completely opposite or had nothing to do with what I am currently doing, which is accounting. So, I'll have my BBA in accountancy fulfilled, ideally, hopefully, praying, as long as I do all my part by the end of this semester. So that's exciting. That's great. That's wonderful. I'll still be in school because I've got a year left of study, but my major will be fulfilled. I'll be working on other studies, but that'll be nice. But my point is, coming into school, after graduating, I was set on being an engineer. Or it was right before graduating. Right before graduating, I was set on being an engineer. I had taken 3 or 4 years of engineering. I forget what it's, PLTW engineering courses. I took, I think it was, I'm trying to remember. It's been quote unquote so long. Honestly, kinda, yeah. It's 2026 and I graduated in 23. So, I took like POE, I think it was IOE or I something, and then like one other engineering course. And in those courses, I had a good time. Like, even in the first couple of years, or especially in the first couple of years, I enjoyed it because I love architecture. I can look at a building and just break down in tears. It's happened many a times. I'll just be traveling and I will think a piece of, or I will think a building is like a piece of art. And it is in my eyes. Someone who can put together, and it's typically a group of people, but it all comes together to be like a piece of art, and it can just be so beautiful. I even find the most maybe mundane of architecture to be just gorgeous. And who knows what'll happen in the future. I've been thinking about that. I've studied this one avenue, but I am not closed-minded to going back to school and studying other things if I find myself interested in more, because there is so much more. And if I'm given the opportunity, I'll count it as a blessing and I might just go for it. But I've loved architecture, and then I got to design in some software. We would use these certain kinds of computers and we would design in class, and we had our professor was fun. He made it fun. We got to build things physically. So like we would get these metal trays and we would put pieces together and we would use certain screws, and then I loved the part of drawing everything out and recording everything in the journal. I thought going into college, I realized like the math for engineering in college would be all the more like so much more difficult. The math was already much harder in senior year and maybe some of junior year than it was the years before that in high school. But I realized, I was like, oh, this is going to be a lot, and I don't know if I want to put that much stress on myself. That is such a funny thought now, because I'm like, Janaea, any avenue I was going to go into in college, anything I would have been remotely interested in, I'm going to have some kind of stress on myself. And I just didn't realize until later on. I don't regret the path I've taken. No, I'm definitely glad with how things have turned out, and I am here for a reason and on purpose. And so much has happened, and so many blessings have come of it. And it is just a blessing in itself that I wouldn't think that. But um, I have learned along the way, which is kind of what I'm here to talk about. And so we had a lot of fun in those courses. I had a lot of fun in those engineering courses. And because I loved the beauty of the outcome and because I loved to record everything, I was like, maybe project manager, design manager, engineering manager, like the overseer, maybe not the one who does all the math and all the stuff. Like maybe I know how to do that, but like I don't do that on a regular. I just kind of look over things and check off the end and talk to the client and, all that. I didn't know what that job even entailed. I didn't know what it would take to be a manager or to really go into the engineering field. But I didn't give myself the chance to find out either because I didn't want to do something I was starting to find was more stressful than enjoyable, and I didn't want to lose my appreciation for it all by being on the stressful side of it and making that my career. And I think that might be a bit of wisdom I've taken into like the rest of my I've taken into my adulthood. Because I've thought the same thing about like music. It's a huge passion point of mine. I love music, even worship. I love worship. And I see those as two different things in some regards. But like I've thought, I love this so much. But if it becomes routine for me, or if I do so much in it to where it makes me feel more stress than the like light that it brings out in me, I don't know if it's worth it. Like, I think I would rather build a career upon something that I have studied and enjoy, but is not necessarily my passion to where it's my passion going in, and then I work so much in it that I lose the light and appreciation in it, and it's no longer something I'm passionate about, but it's something I might be deterred from. I've just thought that way. And so going into college, I didn't know what I wanted to do because for so long, I mean, so the way that my high school worked, we were a college prep school. That was a kind of school that I went to. It was a college prep charter school, and they get you into dual credit if you can. They get you into dual credit as a freshman in high school so that by the time you get to college, you're a year ahead. And I did that, and that was amazing, and I'm so grateful. High school was hard, and I've had an episode on my personal experience of high school, but my educational experience of high school, I think that was probably the best it was going to get with what I had and where I was at. And I'm so grateful for how everything turned out and played out, and it made me stronger. Everything I went through, I don't know. It's so funny I say that it made me stronger. I think to the Ginny and Georgia scene where Georgia is like, do I think I'm stronger because I went through this? No, I'd be so much more strong if I didn't. It's just funny. My mind went there. Super tangent. Okay, going back to what I was saying. Um, the in going into high school, you chose a track to go into. So you would either go into the biology track or the sciences track, or you go into the engineering track. And we were a STEM readiness school as well. So it was like science, technology, engineering, and math. And so you would do, I think it was like more science tech in the or more science and technology in the science route, and then more engineering and math in the engineering route. And so I actually had a really long conversation with my professor. I've been this analytical person trying to figure out, like, what should I do? Why should I do it? What does my personality fit with? What would I actually enjoy doing? What do I want to commit to? I've been this kind of analytical person for a long time. And I'm grateful for that trait and characteristic because it gets you thinking. That's for sure. But I had a really long conversation with a professor. With a teacher. She was the one who led the science route. And something about math and engineering just clicked more for me than science did. And who knows what would have happened if I'd have chosen the science route, but we'll never know. And maybe that's a question to answer for the future. But I chose the engineering route, and you stick with it. So whichever route you choose, you stay in this one particular course that like builds on itself. It's like so we had 4 different engineering courses, but some of them like built onto themselves. Like the next one was more advanced than the last, and then I think I have no idea how the biology science side did it, but you just advance over the years. And so I got to the end of the studies, and I think it was the last year was really hard, but particularly I remember the last project being no, it wasn't the last project. The last project I enjoyed, but it was like the math. It was the last math heavy project that we did. It was especially difficult, and it wasn't like I wouldn't do it, and it wasn't like I couldn't. Like I did. We did it. We got through. But it was like, this is not for me. It's just not. I was like, oh man, like I've done this for years, and I know it's only one course and it's only in high school, but it really did give you like a perspective into what, working in engineering would be like. Because we did it just in simulation form. Excuse me. And that was a great experience for what it was, but at the end of it I was like, this isn't for me. So moving on, I graduated and I was like, okay, I had this plan and I don't really have a plan anymore. So what do we do? And so I realized I wanted to do so. I didn't know I wanted to be a lawyer yet. That's what I want now. I want to be a lawyer, and I'll get to that, I'm sure. But if in case I don't, I'll just let you know I've learned a lot about myself, and I've heard from trusted people and people who have been around me my whole life about the characteristics they see in me as an individual, and I've thought about how I can best serve this world and expend my mind for the betterment of the whole in this life, and law just seems to align best with that, from what I understand and what I gather now, from what I know now. So, but after I graduated, I just wanted to do something where I would be able to communicate better with people. My goal in going to college, what I wanted to take out of going to college, was being better in something that I wasn't so good at. And for me, that was socializing. And I knew that in the professional career world, I would need to, I don't know if apt is the right word, like be apt to do this, but basically I would need to have the capability to communicate well with people, to connect well with people, to be able to talk, converse, discuss, and to do that without being like a lesser version of myself, or succumbing to anxiety, or being a shelled off, or like I don't know, like just a version of me that wasn't just I knew I needed to be able to do that, and I wasn't able then. And I feel like there were a lot of pieces to that. I went to a really small school. I didn't have the best experience with making friends. I struggled to connect with those around me. I've said this before on other videos, and the way I've said it before has been like, I reside at a deeper reservoir than surface level. And that's kind of a dramatic way of saying I tend to think about things and about life, I think, in a way that is not so, or I didn't see so much, or I couldn't have a conversation and recognize that in somebody else as well. and like not often. And so I felt very isolated, and I kind of took on the identity of isolated or alone, or no, really the identity that I started to take on was introvert. And I will say, like, I have introverted tendencies, but I also have very extroverted tendencies at times. And for the most part, I, like, have grown up really goofy and joyous and bubbly. I've just been through situations and, oop, things and situations and people who have, like, for lack of better words, they slowly, like, digressed that in me. But God has really helped me with the bringing the light back and everything. Um, okay, I don't want to go down that path. Let's get back to, okay, school. I wanted to go to school for something I wasn't very, very good at. And so I was like, okay, I considered communications. I never declared that as my major, but I did consider communications. Fun fact, learned sometime later that my grandmother was, I think, a doctorate, a master or a doctorate of communications, or a professor of communications. She just did communications, and so that was really cool to me. But I don't think going into college I considered anything political or on the legal side. I don't know if I considered it at all. I may have, and I may just forget. I just remember heavily considering communications, and then I decided away from that, and I decided management, because management at my school is under the purview of the business school. And so I reasoned with myself and came to understand that I would have a business background, but also being a management major, I would learn to effectively communicate with people, and not just communicate with people, but also lead people, because that's another thing about my personality and just myself. I've never been much of a follower. If anything, I'll be on my own, or I will typically tend to lead in what it is that I'm in. And it's not like I have to be that, it's just naturally how it tends to fall. I think I've been humbled more growing up, in that there are times to follow people. There are times to listen. There are times to um, be be considerate and mindful of how things could go from somebody else's perspective, and like choose to go that way. Your way does not always have to be the way or anything. And why did I say or anything? Basically, basically, I think I've grown to get more of a balance, but even still, I do more leading, I think, than following, even if it's just leading myself. And so, but I wanted to, like, in my career, I wanted to be able to lead others. If it came to that, I wanted to just have the ability, just have the toolkit. I like to be prepared, and I like to, like, know what I'm talking about. And so I declared my major as a management major. I took a semester in school, and it was like I was taking business basics. I was not in any advanced courses. Everything was like, I think I had a basic management, basic marketing, two basic accountings, or one basic accounting, and then maybe something else. I think I only took 4 in my first semester, 4 courses, because 4 courses is full time at my university. And 4 courses is more than enough. Okay, babe? You do not. I'm in 5 right now, and I think this is my second time doing this, but I think it was so much more doable the last time I did it, because I wasn't also pursuing the podcast, which is my honors project, and developing my post study abroad documentary, which I'm doing this semester as well. And not to mention, like, the other volunteer and extracurricular things that I'm a part of. So I will be the first to tell you, you're not running behind by only taking 4 courses in a semester. only is like a stretch of a word to use there too. I'm not even going to claim that in that sentence. To take 4 courses is more than enough. You're doing great. Be encouraged by what you're doing. Also, it could be even more of a benefit to you to take less courses at a time, because you're going to be able to really take in and understand what it is that you're learning. And typically, what you learn builds on itself in later advanced courses, or even in courses that you're taking simultaneously. I've found that there are a lot of there's a lot of carryover, there's a lot of overlapping, and it can be beneficial to take less classes so that you can spend more time on the courses that you are in and get a better grasp on them. It can just be more beneficial for your understanding, for your GPA, for your stress levels. So I'm just going to encourage you there. But I took all those basic courses in my first semester. It was fall of 2023. And I'm sorry to use this word, and it's really not on the part of the professor. It's not. She was very kind and worked with me on some. I think I had a business trip that fall, and like she was very considerate, and like the coursework was fine, but that's kind of as good as it was. Yeah, I'm not even gonna say that word that I was gonna use, but basically it was fine. It was not like, oh yay, like I'm excited. Like literally nothing in the course made me feel that way. I requested about halfway through the course to move to online because I felt that I could better utilize my time studying and get the same amount of information doing it on my own rather than spending that time in class. She let me. That was great. But I mean, it was bad. I was like, this is not it. But I took a course. It was, what was it? Principles of Financial Accounting, or was it just Financial Accounting? It may have just been Financial Accounting. That course was my bread and butter. It was so fun to me. I think I made a high A in that class. I don't know if I made a B on a test. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed learning it. I enjoyed the process of it. I was good at it, but then I also enjoyed learning it because it was something I had never gotten into before. And I'll remind you, that was my entire point in going to school, was taking something away that I was not an expert in, and that I didn't have a background in, or that I was not so good or proficient in, because that was like my point. I mean, if you're gonna go to school, if you're gonna go to post school, if you're gonna, and by that I mean just school after high school, if you're gonna go and learn about something, go and learn about something you don't know yet. That was my mentality about it. And so I did that, and the professor, she harped on my skill, and she was really kind, and I also really just liked her as an individual and as a professor. She was so good. She is so good. She's very good at what she does. And she was just very encouraging, and it got me. Oh, the rain is starting to pick up. I wonder if y'all can hear that. I hope y'all can still hear me. Might just be my voice with a little bit more rain, but that's alright. A little bit more calming, I suppose. So she was great. That course was great. I had a good time. And, yeah, I think that was the semester. I think it was the end of that semester that I spoke with my advisor, and I made a major declaration shift. So I shifted from being a management major to an accounting major, and that is one of those decisions where I look back and I'm like, I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but now that I'm at the end of it, I'm like, man, I'm so glad I did. And I'm also going to be so much better off as whatever I do because I did that. And there are several reasons for that. Accounting is not an easy degree to fulfill. You have to know what you're doing, and to continue to know what you're doing, you have to read constantly. You have to practice problems. And if you don't know what you're doing, it's going to show on your tests and you're not going to pass the course. Why ask me? Because I know. I did that. There was a course I took, I didn't pass. There's a course I took, I made do I want to say that on here? Well, I already said I didn't pass. Let's be real here. Yeah, I failed a course, and there were some pieces to that, actually, because I got into a wreck at the end of the semester, and it made it really hard time-wise for me I was already not doing great in the class. I think I could have pulled it together towards the end, but then I got into a wreck. No, I did not cause it, but someone ran into me, and it made everything, like, I had to go to regular chiropractic care appointments. I had to get my car fixed, and I didn't have access to my car for a while. It was just a mess. But my lawyer won the case, and that was really fun, and it was my first kind of taste of justice, and I was like, this is what I'm gonna be doing for people. But there was that, and then there was in one of my tax classes, I made a C. I hate to say it, but I did, and it's actually kind of sad because it was in the same class that I made an A. It was for that same professor I was just saying I love, and I love her as a professor, and she's great. I just didn't get tax like I got accounting, like in like financial accounting. And even now, I don't know that I don't think I applied myself so much in some of those advanced accounting courses that were intermediate, that like now going into my senior level courses, it's like I have less confidence than maybe I could have. And maybe I could have better practices in my studying had I applied myself more back then. I would have better practices now. That is something I will say, like, apply yourself early on so that it becomes habitual for you to be able to apply yourself later on, because you're going to need it. As you go into your upper division courses, it's not just about knowing the information, it's about knowing the information prior, and it's about knowing how to apply the information that you learn. It's about learning how to apply yourself and balance your time and your life, because typically the later you go on, the more independence you gather in your personal life, and there's more that you're going to have to balance with school. And knowing how to study, knowing how to apply yourself, knowing how to listen, how to take notes, all those things, those are things I would say I wish I had learned a little bit early on, or a little bit earlier on. But coming in, it wasn't like this was my hometown and I knew everybody around me. It was like, this is a completely new city, a new experience for me, a new kind of life that I'm building for myself. And so I poured a lot into extracurriculars, trying to find, quote unquote, my people, trying to get involved and trying to find spaces and places where I fit in, or not fit in, really not fit in. I shouldn't have said that, because that's not even where I say that's not where my mind goes, as my mind just went there. I think that's just something like when you're going to a new place, that's something, I don't know, I've heard a lot of YouTubers use that verbiage. Maybe that's just my point is that's not really what my point was. I didn't want to fit in anywhere necessarily. I don't know that that has ever been my my goal anywhere I go. I don't really care to fit in, but I do care to have places where I feel comfortable, and I wanted to make friends here. And so I spent more time trying to make friends and trying to make connections, build connections, and build like my personal life than I spent time studying, or than I spent time reading, or than I spent time asking my professors questions. And I think that has shown up in, the outcome of some of my courses, or it's shown up on certain tests, or it's shown up just like, now, like where I am in my life. I've learned a lot of lessons that were not just educational, and, whether that gets me, or basically, like, I know law school is hard to get in, ideally, and whether my decisions in the past will impact that ability or not, well, I don't know. We'll see. But like we get here for a reason, and at the end of the day, like, we get here, and at the end of the day, nobody's perfect, and we're all just trying to get through this life, and we're all just trying to, do our best and learn along the way. So if I can be a source for someone, whoever's watching this, to hear from and to see a certain experience be played through to the end and be able to give you advice, encouragement, tips, a story of experience, if I can do that for you, if that's what this has been for, if I've learned my lessons to be able to share them with you who has not had to, who has not gone through that lesson yet, then so be it, and that's great, and that's what we're here for. I'm trying to get better about not portraying myself as like so perfect and put together. I think being put together is just kind of part of the personality, or like part of the identity I've tried to take on as I've grown up. But God has shown me like the beauty of laying things down at His feet, laying fear down because it's not mine, laying down a societal point of view of what quote unquote perfection might look like, because perfection really is not attainable for us as humans. Like, Jesus was the only perfect human, and it's like, you don't have to. Something I was studying in Ecclesiastes recently, and it came to my mind that chasing a point of view or a perspective is vanity, because you can never control what someone thinks about you or sees in you. The only thing you can control in this life, for the most part, is yourself. And so, instead of choosing to try to align myself with what I want people to perceive me as, I'm working on choosing to align myself with the kind of person that God is forming me into, and the kind of person that I want to be, for the betterment of myself, my future, and those who are observing. Not for the betterment of, how I might be seen, but like just truly for the better, because we're all going to reach the same endpoint, kind of. Basically, like, we all have just like this life, and yeah. Anyway, I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole. Kind of already did, but so accounting. I got into accounting and realized that there would be so much benefit as a business person to know the world of accounting. Accounting is the language of business, as many will say. Professors, I've seen it on a quote in Pinterest. Basically, it is the foundation, or like the background that keeps operations running. It's got to do with finances, it's got to do with comparative analyses, it's got to do with looking at business progress over time, profitability, etc. And so, Mom is really sweet. Hold on. Okay. Sorry, I just yelled in y'all's ear.
Fresh.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I love you.
I love you. Mom just brought me some cookies. That's so sweet. If you're watching, this is so sweet. She just made some homemade cookies. They're vegan Monster cookies, and Monster is like they've got, I think, chocolate chips and M&Ms in them, but they're this vegan brand. I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's at Target. Sweet Loren's, yes, that's the cookie. Okay. What was I saying? Ah, basically, I found it beneficial to study accounting, but and I've been, and I have been told over time what it can do for you, what can come of it, especially what can come of you being a CPA. And a CPA is a certified public accountant. There is a test that you have to take, a very hard test, a 4-part test that you have to take at the end of your studies after taking, they've changed the rules over the years, but a certain amount of hours and a certain amount of internship experience under the purview, or like under the supervision, that's the word, under the supervision of a CPA, and then, passing the test. That will all those three things, the coursework, the experience, and the passing the test, will get you the CPA certification. And the CPA is a license. It's also a series of letters that get to go behind your name. And essentially, what I've learned getting to the last course of my education is the difference between you and any other individual in business, in the career field, just in general, is that you are able to be an auditor. And so auditors, they give opinions that do not say for certain that financial statements are prepared without any material misstatements, but they give an opinion that the likelihood is high that they are not prepared with material misstatements. And that's because there is always a level of, I forget the word, I really should know the word, but there's always a level of uncertainty because we are human preparing these audits or these tests, these functions, to try to figure out if material misstatements are present in financial statements. And so you can't say without a shadow of a doubt that those don't exist. There is always the possibility, and so there is a consideration of there's a possibility that these have them and we've missed them, but the likelihood, you state that the likelihood is that they're not. Or you state that the likelihood is that they are there, or you state that or you don't state, it's kind of, it's not confusing, but there are a lot of pieces to an auditor opinion. But essentially, you give an audit opinion and you are able to act as an auditor, and only certified public accountants can act as auditors. Now, I took a long look at myself, and it was last in this semester. I think especially over Christmas break, I considered, what do I want to do in my career? What do I want to do for the rest of my studies? Because I was going to have to start making some hard decisions, or really just some impactful decisions, I knew, this semester. Because how my scholarship works is I've got 4 years of study. I can fulfill a degree. It's like it goes to the end of 4 years, or it's like 120 hours, or it goes to the end of a degree. I graduated salutatorian of my class, and I earned that scholarship, and that has been such a blessing to me and my family. If you have the opportunity to go to a school where that is a chance for you to get a scholarship like that to a university that's nearby, or a university you would consider going to, I absolutely suggest that. Because high school is going to come and go. where you go, it matters fundamentally, but logistically, financially, and overall, what matters is getting to and through college, if that is what you're trying to do. And so if you have the opportunity in high school to get somewhere that can get you a really good scholarship or financial opportunity, I would advise you to consider taking that. Because it can also mean a lot less stress for you as a student, or just on where the finances are coming from for college for you. So, I knew I would have to start making decisions about my undergraduate career, whether I would go into a master's program, whether I would consider studying accountancy in my master's program, whether I would start focusing on maybe studying for the CPA exam, perhaps going to intern somewhere to get CPA experience or to get internship experience to go along with my CPA. If I were basically just, am I moving towards that or not? And that's a big decision because it's a big certification and it's a big commitment. But something I've learned, realized, and something even my mom realized in me, is that it's an area, it's a field that's so beneficial to know. And I think if I go into entrepreneurial ventures, or if I do M&A in law, which is mergers and acquisitions, if I do anything business related, I'm going to be more equipped to do it well or to do it mindfully because I have a background of accountancy. I don't doubt that. I agree with that. I know that that is true. But so far as pursuing accounting as a career, I had been so encouraged by professors and by the people who would come to do career fairs with us, whose jobs are to get us interested, that the CPA route is the route to go. And that makes sense. We're in the business building. They want to get you a job afterwards. You're in accounting. They want you to move to the next step. They want you to have as many opportunities as possible in the business world. And if you're in accounting, that is the next step, ideally. But I took into consideration, over time, I've taken into consideration what I actually enjoy doing and what I would want to consider doing as a career. And I've also considered that their encouragements have got to, in some part, be because we are in this environment. Otherwise, if I were in this other college of, say, College of Pharmacy, the encouragements are probably going to look a lot different. Or the College of Engineering, the encouragements are probably going to look a lot different because that's just the environment you're in. So I stayed mindful of my environment as well. And over Christmas break, and over especially last semester and some of this semester, I considered, without, I know I'm in it technically, so it's kind of hard to remove yourself from it, but removing in my mind all the elements of, okay, this environment, what I'm studying, what I've chosen, what it could be. I just kind of tried to strip myself of those things and think about, how am I doing in this? What is coming of this? Am I enjoying this? Do I want to move forward in this? And the answer was no. The answer was, I interviewed for an internship, and I interviewed for 2 internships, and at both interviews I let them know that my path of interest was to be a lawyer. Both of them ended up saying it wasn't going to be a fit for me, and I think part of that is because they knew I wanted to go off and do more. I can't say this for sure, but they knew I wanted to go off and do more, and they are local firms looking for people to continue in their firm. So it makes sense, and everybody was kind. But basically, I kept realizing in myself, I want to pursue something else. Like, I have this other part of me that's so interested in other stuff. Like, so much so to the point where, like, in all my extra free time that I wasn't studying, what was I not doing? I was not interning at a firm to get hours to go towards my CPA. No, I was volunteering at churches and ministries so that I could lead worship there with people and be a part of the church. I was a part of Model United Nations. I'm in my second consecutive year doing that. And like, I committed, this is my third semester I've committed to being a representative of Model United Nations for my university and being in that class and showing up 3 days a week. And like, I'm in student government. Now I'm in student government, but like, I'm there because I'm interested in that. Like, that's what I'm choosing to do in my free time. I went on a study abroad and studied for a semester before that, learning about other cultures because I'm interested in international relations, which also plays into Model United Nations. And so I'm like, Janaea, look at yourself and your interest and what you're doing, and look at what you're studying, and please recognize in yourself what you don't want to do, and recognize what you do want to do. Recognize what you're interested in and be real with yourself. Don't just hold on to something because it's something you've been doing forever. Don't just hold on to something because in your mind you have it. You have your mind like almost rose-colored glasses fogged over, that there's this expectation of you to do something, and maybe there is, and that's a different experience that I can't speak to. Praying for you, but like, literally, because that's got to be hard. I have been blessed with a support system that supports like where I want to go and the changes that I make and the decisions that I make for my life and myself. I will say that. So I acknowledge and know and notice that everybody's experience is different when it comes to school and when it comes to choosing what you're going to do with your life. But so far as it is within your ability to consider what you want to do and to consider what you don't want to do, don't just hold on to something because you've held on to it for a while. If you want to pick something up, let the other thing go and pick up the new thing. Because we've only got this season of life. We've only got this moment. We've only got like so much time to be in our 20s, and then so much time to be in our 30s, and then so much time to be in our 40s, and it goes on, you know. And so if it's time for something else, allow it to be time for something else. And that has been a big lesson for me, and something I'm so glad that I've allowed myself to do and allowed myself to let be true. What else? So I think I'll probably talk about my love for law in another video, if anything, because we're approaching an hour of talk time, which has been really great. But I want to make sure in my mind there's nothing else I wanted to talk to y'all about. I was considerate of my environment. I took the time over break and over over the last in this semester, recognize what I do want. And I also learned a lot about this profession. That's another thing. In my courses, pay attention, because typically in your upper graduate courses, particularly in senior year, when you're talking to advisors, your career success coach, and you're listening to your professors in class, which you should be doing still, they will tell you answers to the questions you never knew you might have about the profession you're interested in, and it might be a swaying point to the point where you realize this is absolutely what I want, or this is absolutely what I do not. And I have had a couple of moments where it's been a recognition of this is not what I want. And it's not because this isn't a good or promising field, and for some people this is great. This is right up their alley, and this is what they want, or this is what they need, or this is what they're doing, what they've chosen. But for me, I have more time to choose and more things I could choose, and I want to give myself the freedom to do that. And there have just been things I've learned about the profession that, not that I don't agree with, just that I don't necessarily want to live by every day in my day-to-day work, you know? I'm trying to think if I want to say any examples. Okay, for example, my professor told me about a situation in which there were people working for a company. They were just accountants. I shouldn't say just. Sorry. You do really great work. But we're in a CPA focused class. So they were accountants, not CPAs. And they were just doing what they were told. They were being told by management things to do. It turned out that management was performing fraud. Management obviously got in trouble with the law, but so did the accountants just doing what they were told. Sometimes you don't think to ask a question if you don't know if something you're doing is wrong or faulty, but I've recognized that in this field you can be made out to be at fault because you should have known. And I think it's hard. Like, in my mind, I'm like, it's hard to know everything you should know. Like, you're not thinking about every single thing you've learned over the course of your education at every single moment, every single day. Like, you could easily, because you're a human, you could easily look over something, or you could easily not recognize something, or you could easily forget one area. And what if that one area is the one area that upper management is committing fraud over, and or like that's the one area that management is committing fraud in, and then that's the one area that you're taken down for. That was just kind of scary for me to hear. And then also, continuing education. I don't mind the idea of continuing education. I actually think it's great for professionals to have continuing education in their professions because it keeps you updated. It essentially keeps what you know relevant so that you're able to do what you need to do in your profession in accordance with what is current. And so I thought about that, and I was like, it's not that I mind continuing education. I love the idea of continuing education in the law so that I know how to defend, or whatever I'll be doing for my clients later on, so that I'll be able to do that to the best of my ability. I love that idea. What I don't love the idea of is continuing education in the accounting field. I don't love that idea. I don't even enjoy most of the assignments or most of the reading that we're doing in these classes. As I've gotten to the more advanced courses, I'm like, no, this is kind of like taking the light out. And that's something I meant to say earlier, like my mom recognized it in me as well. I've just noticed it kind of takes the light out of me. I've cried a lot, I've stressed a lot, and it's like, it's not good stress, it's not good cries. Like, you can stress and cry after doing school and it be, I think, a good thing. Like, if you feel super encouraged or motivated after it, or like you get through it and you're like, oh, I learned that, it's like, whoo, it's like a breath of fresh air. It's like, yes, but it's like, that's because it's something you're passionate about. But when it's something you have no interest in moving forward, and it's like, oh my, it's just dreading, and I just want to move on, you know? And I think that, I know that's the point that I'm at. And so, my final encouragement to you, because my phone is about to die and it's my source of recording my audio, is give yourself the time and space to recognize the truth and the truths that are revealed to you as you move through your educational journey. And so far as it is within your control, give yourself the flexibility to adapt as necessary. Okay, I hope this was a helpful an encouraging and good episode for you all. Thank you so much for watching. I didn't say it in the beginning, but this is the Beloved and Lowly podcast. I'm your host, Janaea Eve Watson, and I had a great time talking with y'all. I'll see y'all later. Bye.